Evening. How are you? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're well and I hope you're settled wherever you are. We are at Centurion Systems and we're having our first engineering talk. My name is Dorcas Njuguna and I'll be walking you through this discussion. I look forward to you interacting, but most importantly, for you living with nuggets that you'll be able to apply either in your everyday work or even to share with your colleagues. And I'm happy to have you here. If you feel there's somebody who needs to be in this call, this is just one of those great opportunities where you nudge them and remind them to be part of this. One simple way that you can keep up to date with everything we do with Centurion, you can follow us on LinkedIn, you can follow Mr. Kevin Desai, and we'll share the details on LinkedIn. But for now, on to what brought us here today in the evening. One of the greatest challenge I would say as engineers is keeping up to date with the conversations that happen on a daily basis. And therefore, we decided to do the engineering talk so that we can have an opportunity to create a series of sessions that you're able to come and have, but also have an opportunity to share ideas and ways on how we can solve solutions that would make Kenya better in terms of systems, in terms of innovation, and also where you are at work. So our virtual talks will be happening in the evening, but most importantly, today we are having one great guest, and I believe you all know, and if you do not know Dr. Kevin Desai, I will take this opportunity to just do a quick introduction. One of the interesting things I must say about Kevin Desai, he has been involved in a lot of things in Kenya, but I would like to mention a few of his great works that he has done. So, Mr. Kevin Desai, PhD, MBS, CBS, FIET, is a distinguished leader in engineering research, innovation, and policy development. With an extensive career spanning academics, technology, governance, and trade, he has played a transformative role in Kenya's technical education, vocational training, and industrial innovation landscape. With a strong foundation in robotics and control systems, engineering, and industrial automation, Dr. Kevin Desai has significantly contributed to government-industry dialogue and the advancement of Industry 4, which we're going to delve into today in Kenya and East African region. His leadership in policy and innovation has led to pivotal roles in governance, serving as the Principal Secretary at the Ministry of Education State Department of Innovation and Technology Education, TVET, from 2018 to 2020, and later as a Principal Secretary at the State Department of East Africa Community from 2020 to 2023. Dr. Kevin Desai is a visionary entrepreneur, having founded Centurion Systems over 35 years, establishing a trailblazer in industry transformation as the Africa Board Advisory of the Factor Y Limited and CBAS. He champions the integration of Industry 4 in education and commercialization of intellectual property to foster innovation here in Kenya. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you, Dorcas, thank you.
Yes. So without ado, and one of the things I always think about, because I have a background in HR, is how do you make yourself stand out? If you have not even finished the whole overview of what he has done. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is ensure you check him out on LinkedIn, follow him, learn more on what he has done, but most importantly, see areas that you can learn from so that you can take up some of this opportunity. So Kevin, thank you for welcoming us here in Centurion System. 35 years is not, a mere feat. It's quite some work, and I'm really great for us to have this opportunity. Also considering that right now in Kenya we have a high number of people getting into entrepreneurship, also in engineering, and one of the biggest asks is, how did you do it? How did you get there? So I want us to just, take one step back and think about things that are right now, I would say the buzzwords in Kenya. Everyone is talking about AI. Everyone is talking about innovation. Everyone is trying to figure out, will my innovation be the one that everybody talks about? And one of the things I just want to hear from you is the impact of AI and Industry 4 on engineering and entrepreneurship. I know quite a number of people may not know, or I may need to remind the ones who know, that you are part of the leading
team that was able to do the installation of traffic lights here in Kenya. We didn't have them. We were just there, yes, being directed, and the police needed to figure out how do we simplify this as the increase of population kept growing. So we are now stuck on what would be the right way of looking at AI, and how has AI gotten into, I would say, either simplification of entrepreneurship, and what can Kenyans do right now? I'm an engineer. Where do I start?
Indeed, I think that this is one of the most exciting times, Dorcas,
Yes.
as far as technology is concerned, for several values. The values that we all share, like promoting access and equity, relevance of technology. And it's an evolution that has taken place within the context of the Industry 1, 2, 3, and now 4 transformations and what it has done, for greater levels of productivity, innovation, and efficiency, and diversification. And there couldn't be a better time to understand and appreciate that today, Industry 4 and on to 5 is one of the most ubiquitous environments, similar to what we had with respect to ICTs, where no one could be left behind. Everyone had to join on and understand information communication technologies. And what a great tool it's become by way of ensuring that it adds value to our life as far as communications, interactivity, analysis, and powers the very work we do, whether you're in the healthcare or agriculture or any kind of business environment, commerce environment, social environment. Similarly, Industry 4, and now with the advent and inclusion of artificial intelligence, IoT, robotics, data analytics, has once again done the same in creating a hugely ubiquitous environment and relevant to every single facet of our lives, whether it's conservation or healthcare, areas of all the sectors of industry, whether it's food processing, mining, metals industry, electrical industries. It covers and encompasses and is accessible to utilities like electricity generation, water supply, and on to areas like the building management systems or transportation and logistics. All of this has great benefit as far as commerce is concerned. We're seeing a massive growth in our country at 7 trillion, but can be hugely leveraged and transformed if we adopt technology and put technology fully behind us. And specifically now, Industry 4, artificial intelligence, IoT, and so on. But Dorcas, one has to appreciate that this was built on technologies. And in the first phase, and what I've seen over the last 35 years, is clear adoption and adaptive capacities. Of course, a lot more has to be done,
Yes.
but we see that, for instance, it's extremely exciting today that there are 5,000 sensors available, which means that, these sensors are part of a sensorics field, and they are able to identify as well as measure any kind of analog or digital signal. This profoundly changes the transformation of how we are able to capture reality, how we're able to be absolutely present. But further to that, we've seen enormous strides in terms of the conversion of these signals, whether they are analog to digital, digital to analog. There's been a pervasive transformation as far as how to integrate on various different kinds of communication systems, whether they be wireless systems, GSM systems, Bluetooth systems, ability for us to have industrial networks incorporated. What an extraordinary connectivity exists within every single device. But further towards a very circular philosophy is not only the data capture of reality and the transition of signals, but it's also the traditional systems which include programmable logic controllers, which in themselves have become highly intelligent, have capacities to integrate artificial intelligence, and onto ERP systems and then now the 3 layers which are going to hugely transform industrial application, and that includes, the use of artificial intelligence, greater uses of IoT platforms, data analytics, and onwards of the circular then goes to further actuation in terms of traditional systems, which are like motors and hydraulics and pneumatics, and they too are becoming highly intelligent in terms of their maintainability, their ability to sense and appropriately become orientated towards the exactness that's required as far as precision is concerned. So this model, which is circular by nature, really is extraordinary in terms of the ability to apply it in all different areas of development. And each of these modules and systems that form a complete system that can be applied can be configured in different ways and and are unique in the sense that they're just as exciting from every single facet.
Okay, so I like how you've just walked us through that sequence and the whole model.
When you think about the Kenyan industry, how can we leverage on AI for success? And this is coming from situations where we have seen organizations that have not yet automated, and while we have other organizations that have automated and have put in the right systems in place. And now just thinking that we're almost getting to the age of now adding AI in it. A lot of young people want to play around with it in their organization because when you just look at the simplicity of a ChatGPT, I can imagine what the engineers are thinking when the coders can create their own codes. Engineers are thinking, if we just put this in our system, then it's going to be a solution orientation that would give us either high productivity level, our ROI in the systems we have purchased would even be way better at a shorter timeline. So how can we leverage on AI success?
So this is something that we need to all reflect on, and it's an extremely important question. We have, when I was studying robotics in Japan 35 plus years ago, their factories were fully utilizing robots and many different dimensions of robotics, and they were essentially now pioneering artificial intelligence and IoT. It's for that reason, robots like this, which was my final year project, had a head on top of the robot, in view of the fact that artificial intelligence was such an important field even then. But it's remarkable that it took 35 years for us to see the adoption of robots in Kenya.
Yes.
And while robots are there for precision manufacturing, and IoT and artificial intelligence is absolutely crucial in view of the fact that our entire commerce systems is constrained. Like, for example, let's take agriculture. How is it possible that we only process 20% for export? How is it possible that out of 100% of our land, only 18% is arable and farm productivity, while we're only producing half of that? Well, all of the solutions in terms of automation and being accurate and variable in terms of decision making and creating different perspectives lies in technology. So now, 35 years on, we're beginning to see robots being deployed, and complex robots beyond pick and place in our factories. So what do we need to do to ensure that we capture this evolution for our benefit, for our sustainability, to promote greater levels of inclusivity, based on the fact that our youth have incredible curiosity, creativity, resourcefulness. They're the power behind technology, and they can hugely promote a genuine value proposition to every single industry, whether it's agriculture, health, building management systems, industrial systems, social systems, and so on. So one of the things then, Dorcas, is that we need to be systemic about this. There are facilitative structures that ensure that technology is adopted and adapted more efficiently. Those include a policy environment that creates the necessary strategic choice, prioritization, the ability for different stakeholders to come together, to share challenges, and out of that comes the policies that enable us to effectively create a cooperation and engagement as far as the use of technology is concerned. There are also rules and regulations. It's important to have structures in place to ensure that we limit the use for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of prosperity, the benefit of the development of the nation. There are standards that need to be developed which enable us to communicate globally, to be part of a community, a global community that ensures that we're able to find ways in which we create a cohesive system. It's currently happening as we speak across the globe. There's a huge dialogue. Unfortunately, much of Africa is left out of this global dialogue. So there's quite a lot of work to be done in terms of representing our context, which is unique by global standards, our requirements, and our ability to be connected to the global scene as part of these structures. Further on, there's need for infrastructure. For example, you talk about AI. Indeed, AI depends greatly on data centers.
Yes.
That becomes the gateway towards ensuring that we're able to put our unique data somewhere which can be analyzed and computational models developed, and the variability ensured so that it benefits all, it promotes a greater level of equity, and most importantly that it's relevant towards our development. There's also the issue of competencies. We come from an industrial system which ensures that we need to understand the different technologies that are in use, so that we're able to configure them, adapt them, adopt them appropriately for requirements. Fortunately for us, a lot of progress has been made. While I was Principal Secretary for Education, for Technical Vocational Education and Training, we developed policies which now echo not only the transformation of the field of TIVET, but are highly inclusive to this sort of thinking as far as engineering is concerned. To illustrate further, competency-based education is essentially a policy which ensures that we train to a standard that's measurable, a measurable standard that is defined by industry. So some of these industrial players can define standards and ensure that our curriculum is fit for purpose. The policies further develop a sense of competency based on micro-credentials. So if we turn to Centurion Systems and its 35 years plus of engineering commitment, we deliberately ensured that not only were we an organization that traded finished products, but we were keen on understanding how to adopt, adapt, what the characteristics of the systems were, and what the technology transfer capability was. And for that reason, we had to work with OEMs like Bosch and Siemens, and various OEMs that represent and Mitsubishi, and various OEMs which represent 80 to 95% of the technology we see in any kind of installation. That meant, that we had to build capacities around this in terms of training skills and competencies to transfer. And it also now, within this policy environment, enables us to create micro-credentials. And these can be stackable. But furthermore, they're accessible by all. Even a doctor, a medical doctor, can pick up a field of sensorics in 2 or 3 weeks and become an expert in adopting, adapting, and the characteristics of sensors. This could then play a role in how he's able to apply it to his patients and his diagnosis. And in turn, he can pick up another couple of modules, which enables him or her to ensure that they understand connectivity and communications. And finally, interface systems that would interface to artificial intelligence and actuation devices and so on. So the whole world of technology is becoming more accessible, more equitable, more user-friendly. And it's really time to sort of, in a structured way, sort of dive in based on your specialization and that ability to ensure that you pick up all these skills based on micro-credentials, stack them up and configure them uniquely. Just as you're a unique person and your field is unique, you can also create unique capacities.
Okay, so I like how you've mentioned and you've just taken us
a little bit about Tibet and the right processes in place. One of the things that we're coming to see right now in Kenya is there is a growing need of young, I would say, as old as 9 years, getting into coding, getting into understanding Internet of Things. Do you think by taking that step where now we're ensuring that people are able to do even virtual sessions, because until COVID happened, somebody would not understand how a technical person would do a session and only come for practicals at school. And therefore my biggest ask is, do you think right now our education system here in Kenya are getting to a point of, yes, we need AI, yes, we need to automate some of these processes at school so that we are, leaping off maybe 10 years of where we've been behind. And therefore, by the time we're talking about Industry 4 in the industry, we actually have the talent that we require to be in that industry. Because the biggest ask when we are assessing or getting talent is, will this person be able to understand our projection based on the strategy we're thinking 10 years ahead? So for me, the biggest ask is, in terms of education, where are we and how can we progress? And also, how is it that organizations are taking a back step, not implementing immediately AI? What would be the constraints? I know you've talked about the policies, but what else would be the constraint on it?
So the use and the promotion of AI in our everyday lives can be broken down into many different configurations.
Yes.
It can be AI for your processes.
Yes.
And AI for simply ensuring that you're adapting to effective processes that equal productivity and innovation and efficiency. There are AI systems that enable you to create diversification.
Yeah.
So there's a limitless application as far as gathering data, analyzing data, and then being able to connect it to some sort of decision-making system based on some computational program, and thereby adding a value proposition to your existing engagement, ensuring that you're more accurate and more specific to what needs to be achieved. For example, if you are a farmer, for example, you want to know that the soil health is appropriate for arability and the ability to ensure that you're able to grow your crop in the most efficient process and way. And that includes the levels of light and the levels of moisture and so on. But these can be then varied using different models, not only through sensors, but also through computational models to give you a general scenario which learns through the year and through different kinds of cycles, but at the same time adapts to different situations as efficiently as possible. So the net outcome, of course, is that you reduce your costs and you're more accurate. As to why it is a challenge to adopt technology, in view of the fact that technology's demonstrated for the last 200, 300 years that it has a profound implication in terms of the success, sustainability, and transformation of any kind of capacity, and you essentially become isolated when you aren't in a technology environment, because you're basically within your own walls and you're not simply connected in all the appropriate ways, and you're not able to share and you're not able to contribute. This has been a challenge within the context of Kenya. Back in 1999, I initiated the Engineering Students Exhibition. Centurion was at the forefront of creating a national movement, which led to the euphoria behind technology, the euphoria behind creating a culture of innovation based on technology, that then led to various policy shifts, and ultimately we had strong interest from multinational players who were willing to not only share their products but share their platforms, like Nokia and Google and and other organizations. And so subsequently what we've seen is that the youth have taken it up. You know, they are tech savvy and created a reputation for this country as far as being an ICT hub and ICT friendly part of the world.
Yes.
Industry, however, was slow to adopt. It was slow to adopt from 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Yet gains were there, and in parallel the markets were there. The markets were expanding considerably with the success of the East African community. That makes us one of the 4th largest market in the world, consisting of 400 million people,
Yes.
with a common structure for trade, manufacturing, and all areas of commerce. And yet, you know, we were slow to adopt, and it's for various reasons. One is, of course, the awareness creation, the ability to ensure that we have the right kind of capacity in organization has been a factor, which means that, you know, we need to ensure that we provide more training, skills, exposure to the latest technology. But it's equally important that through standards and standards verification, that there's an urgent need to adopt newer technologies to ensure that we reduce wastage of key elements which are close to conservation, like for example water or electricity, and this needs to be embedded as far as an ecosystem is concerned to propel the use of industry forward. It's also important to have a policy with respect to establishing clusters which then invoke high levels of performance from entire sectors of industry, thereby demanding and creating a demand for technology adoption and adaptation. So these are some of the challenges, and yet, you know, it's surprising because, you know, like you said, some of these courses can be achieved and learnt online, and some of them require practical application for confidence development. Most of all of this requires a strong sense of community, which over the last 35 years, Centurion has contributed greatly towards creating a community that's accessible at all levels, inclusive, and has a wealth of knowledge. But sometimes this community is introverted and needs to be brought into the limelight of challenges, both national as well as regional, with a view of providing solutions. So indeed, lots of challenges, but exciting times. The movement is slow, and I think that what would catalyze it is the communities, the ability for them to believe in themselves, the ability for industrialists and organizations to adopt and adapt and take conscious decisions as far as their policy is concerned. Technology is a key driver within their fields. They have done this in the past for ICTs, but they need to now do it for Industry 4, artificial intelligence and IoT.
So what I'm hearing from you, and for those who are joining us, we're discussing AI and Industry 4 with Mr. Kevin Desai. One of the interesting things that he has mentioned is, of course, there's a need to have policies in place. Also, we all know because of data protection, there's quite a number of things that an organization has to assess and go through in terms of compliance to ensure that even by the time you are putting in AI into your system, especially when it comes to production or any other thing, it doesn't come to affect at the end product on how you have been making, either whether you are automated already or not. But what I love about this discussion is how we are being told that more than 35 years ago, and I believe this we have seen for ourselves, that Japan and out there in the world, number of countries had already adopted robotics. And right now in Kenya, I think we have one restaurant that has, I think, 1 or 2 robots that get to serve you a meal, and definitely that robot is not so fast. But the thought is this: some of these things are an everyday discussion in countries, and therefore for us here in Kenya, for us to adapt and get it to a point where now we're able to adapt AI into the system, it means we would need to start from gradual steps. What have we not automated, and what do we need to automate? I know one of the biggest questions that always comes out is, when farmers start automating, what does it mean for those who are the pickers and all those things? Where do all these people go in terms of jobs? But when you think about, even from the report of World Economic Forum 2025, one of the things that they mentioned is there's some jobs that are going to be obsolete. And one of the key things that it emphasizes on is how can you upskill and how can you remain to a point where your skill is still required. And one of the things I've come to learn is being a generalist tends to be the only key way, because you learn different skill sets and therefore you're able to adapt into the different environment. One of the key takeaways for me, Kevin, is how to ensure that some of these discussions do not just remain with a one-sided conversation, but ensuring that we bring them in even closer to the management, so that the right, I would say, bodies or right committees can put in governance in place, so that we are able to create solutions that are workable for either manufacturers to use them as a way of compliance, to make sure that if they get AI into their system, then everything that they are working on is just assured would be in place, especially when it comes to trade secrets and all these other things. So I know you've dealt so much about AI and the different processes and solutions that are out there that organizations can set up, but I want us to come back to Centurion, and we have audiences that may not know or understand the genesis of Centurion. So one of the simple questions I always like asking any entrepreneur I interact with: what made you start this organization? What inspired you to start Centurion System?
So after I finished my education in both England and my robotics postgraduate degree in Japan, all along while I was at university, the intention was to come back to Kenya and to contribute to its development. And so when I finally graduated, and having worked for Toyota in Toyodachi, in the city of Toyodachi, and witnessed how they're producing cars in a fully automated factory, which I was fortunate to contribute to. And there, of course, one can only be surprised, because you don't see people, you see only machines, and you see all these cars coming out every 10 minutes from a production line with all the different kinds of bits and pieces attached to them based on customer requirements and a customer order. So indeed, there was a great fascination in terms of how one could apply this technology. And on return, I set up several movements. The first was to establish a technology transfer organization. But at that time, of course, there wasn't an environment, and what I mean by policy is essentially an environment to demonstrate the uniqueness of technology transfer, because the only commerce we had was trade and simple forms of manufacturing. And yet, something like this requires a little bit more of an integrated relationship to demand as far as how it is applied and promoted as far as technology transfer is concerned. So establishing Centurion Systems meant, that I would, in time to come over the next 35 years, create a training base to transfer critical skills and competencies around Industry 2, 3, and 4. It would also mean that an enormous amount of effort would be put into awareness campaigns through engineering exhibitions, conferences, initiatives to broker relationships and understandings through partnerships of global organizations and capabilities. It would mean that, I would join the Kenya Private Sector Alliance as a founding director, governor, and CEO within the context of establishing policies and frameworks, whether it was in the ICT sector, innovation, technology transfer, and so on. And then on to yet another parallel field, which would define the entire educational system, where I was involved in every policy, sessional paper, strategy over the last 35 years, culminating in the 4 acts: the University Act, TIVET Act, Science, Technology, and Innovation Act, and the Kenya Qualifications National Framework. And then it would require the determination into accepting a position in government and defining policies as far as competency-based education training, establishing the precursor to the dual training policy, which has now been enacted, developing the policy of recognition of prior learning, establishing the entire base consisting of 250 TIVET institutions, in one constituency. Now, of course, there was a drive. The drive was to ensure that we would adopt, adapt, and understand the characteristics of technologies and time to come, efficiently put it into our development processes. And so that, was quite a journey within the context of not only understanding where you want to go, but also defining the environment that you'd like to actually be part of. And it also meant, along the way, inventing a way in which we would increase the life of technology in a sensible way. We were the pioneering organization to repair printed circuit boards, and that essentially is the heart of any technology, the most costly piece of equipment, and what determines obsolescence, and to understand with empathy that our economy is different, and therefore obsolescence essentially has to be determined by ourselves and within our affordability. So it required developing this training facility, it required developing this capacity to repair and to manage and maintain technologies from railways to cars and in all areas of industry and all critical areas of healthcare. And over the last 35 years, Centurion has developed its full capacities to the extent that it's one of the most trusted organizations, and we have served industries across East Africa and continually serve and are continually challenged by newer systems and technologies. So, remarkable journey, a journey full of interaction with young people. We have become the key organization in the area of automation and industry to be the startup hub. Over 100 organizations have been created out of Centurion simply by young people coming, picking up skills, getting experience, being mentored properly, and then going on as one man, woman, or band, and setting up their own little unit and serving us, and all with a view of ensuring that we expand the community. So it's not been a very competitive idea, but it's an idea that the more organizations are able to provide technology transfer and capability, the greater our ability to be prosperous and sustainable, and to genuinely and logically and naturally leverage from this incredible value proposition that exists.
So one of the interesting things that I've seen, Kevin, just as you were talking, and one of the things I've seen in the industry is a lot of SMEs are trying to figure out how can we adapt AI without having huge cost. And also somebody has asked that question, so let me just rephrase it again on what they've said. How can small, medium-sized engineering firms adapt Industry 4 technologies without massive capital investment in this day and age?
Well, the traditional methods which are already accessible and people are quite aware of, like, for example, there are tools on the market like AI Ready, and fortunately many of these don't even require any coding experiences. There are chatbots and customer support, fresh desk capacities which use greater levels of application and application-based. There are marketing automation systems, there are AI-powered CRM sales and tools. You can get further leverage by cloud-based AI services. They include Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. They're areas where you can focus on high returns of investment. Those include predictive analytics and AI for HR. There are areas that you can promote as far as partnering with AI startups and universities and collaborate with AI strategies and startup systems and leverage through development grants the possibility that you can adopt. There are adopters set up a step-by-step approach. Start small within the context of pilot projects and use premium AI tools, as well as training employees on AI basics. Now, these are all standard industrial tools and applications, etc., and so on. But I would think that you need to make a conscious decision in terms of the future of your productivity, innovation and diversification. And you have to start with what you have. And if you're an industry or an organization that already has certain systems in place, like ICT and other forms of technology, if you're manufacturing, you have a plant in place which has sensors, etc. and so on, that ability to add more and adopt and adapt more sensors based on an incremental improvement process, that ability to add more control systems like PLCs and possibly have an ERP based on a varied communication platform, and then that ability to ensure that you have the necessary skills and competencies to include IoT to measure your performance, your outcome as far as manufacturing, the AI systems to have greater sense of where the plant is, and the possibility of different options and computational models can be built up. So the long and short is that you build on as blocks, and you build the capacity within the context of the blocks to have a clearer understanding, understand the characteristics, understand how to adopt and adapt. And the journey there is, from management and the leadership of an organization all the way down to the technical person who's soldering a piece of wire to interface devices. So you have that choice of taking that entire journey based on these micro-credentials that enable us to quickly and assertively and efficiently pick up the necessary capacity as appropriate as you keep building these blocks. And I think that that's the way to start. It's to start by having the vision of sustainability, having that clarity in terms of productivity, the diversification, the innovation that could be possible. And it's then investing your personal time. And fortunately, like I said earlier on, this couldn't be a better time. When I was growing up, holding a soldering iron was dangerous for many people, but yet, I held it, and I may have been burnt a couple of times in the area of electronics, but it wasn't daunting. Today, this has become more inclusive and equitable, and therefore, that ability for us to jump in and start designing is absolutely critical. It's also critical to be part of a community. The Centurion community of technologists and technicians and engineers have profoundly helped one another and encouraged each other. And that then gives you the drive, it gives you the inspiration and that collective sense of to be able to co-create. So indeed, many fascinating structures around, and one has to just make that decision. The significant issue here is, yes, to be a generalist is important, to develop from that specialist capability, and to realize that there's a lot of opportunity beyond the specialist and into these areas that really promote transformation.
So we have another question. The use of AI will lead to displacement of manual jobs in the near future. As you work towards adopting fully the use of AI in the country, what is Dr. Kivit Desai doing to facilitate a smooth transition to the use of AI as we approach Vision 2030?
The reality is this, that all our sectors are underperforming. If you look at agriculture, we're only able to farm 7% of 18% of arable land. But what happens to the other, 70 plus percentage of land that has not been farmed? Or, what about creating access and equity, quality and relevance for healthcare or education? Or what do we do in terms of making our products access 400 million people within the context of the EAC region? We have to appreciate that the cost of lost opportunity, the cost of not serving social issues is much higher than the concern we have as far as losing jobs. We need to ensure that we automate. Today we've seen some excellent examples from what I hear. We've heard of Apollo Agriculture, which uses AI and promotes precision farming and credit scoring, as well as and automated supply chain optimization. We've seen this has an impact on 100,000 smallholder farmers and has increased the yields by 50%. So it's this sort of solution and thinking that we need. And there's no way that technology can fully replace humans. And while it can learn and have models and have different circumstances, it can only be of great importance as far as how it adds value to your own decision thinking, which is much broader, but could definitely benefit from greater levels of capture of data from reality, different models and options, and decision making. So the ultimate use of technology in our context will actually increase the number of jobs. And that's a reality. And this is what we must truly embrace.
Okay. So we have one question. In a way, you have answered it, but just to re-emphasize on it, with the rise of automation and especially in the use of AI, how do you see the role of engineers evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's really one of the most exciting times to be a technician, an engineer, an artisan, a craftsman, or a specialist, because there's so much available to you. There are so many avenues to access skills and competencies. And there are so many examples, back in the days when I was studying, we were limited to our little engineering degrees. And even that was so wide that, we couldn't possibly even implement most that we learned. But today, it could be demand-based. It could be based on the fact that there are systems in place and policies in place that recognize prior learning or prior experience. They build platforms in terms of building further competencies and capabilities. And so I think that this really is an exciting time. It is important to master certain fundamentals. It is important to genuinely be adventurous on picking up different kinds of competencies and skills, and having the courage, to actually implement, be part of communities that really promoting implementation. Beyond an over-regulated environment, there are ways in which you can advocate and bring about the idea that you have. And should you feel that the idea makes such a big difference, and it's important to be involved in policy development so that it benefits the entire country and has that huge implication and big impact towards the prosperity and promoting greater levels of humanity. So there's a huge demand. There's a huge demand for development, and we are there as far as communities are concerned to see to it that we make an effort towards solving problems.
So, question is posed, and the question is, how do you see the fact that the country is actually decentralizing? That is currently where we are in Kenya. And one of the asks for me would be, is there any country outside there that you can say we can look at in terms of benchmark? A lot of people tend to look at Singapore, where they have really automated and set up processes that have, and policies and guidelines that have, I would say, made their country be seen as a benchmark, kind of, in terms of positioning, in terms of the different countries we have here in Africa. So for us here in Kenya, is there a possibility that, yes, we are decentralizing in a way in terms of industrializing, and how do we get out of it?
It's true that as Kenyans we usually compare ourselves to Singapore and various other countries, primarily because of our historical past and what it meant to be almost at a similar level at some point. The point is, each country is different. Kenyans are truly great. They have this incredible youth that have an immense energy, curiosity, creativity. We see this every year in terms of the engineering exhibitions and the innovation exhibitions and so on. What we need to do is appreciate and put all our investment on this unique characteristics that is quite unique from countries that have young children where everything is catered for. Well, you know, countries like Kenya, for example, I grew up having to make my own toys, and that was absolutely normal. I grew up, you know, having the ability to and the encouragement to repair my parents' equipment and cars and so on. So it's absolutely crucial that we recognize that we have something special. It's also important to understand that we need to create pathways into commerce. And that means, you know, the ability to value intellectual property, innovation, ideas, to create platforms that encourage innovation into commerce, and to ensure that we don't have to struggle, like I struggled over the last 35 years, to set Centurion in its position. We need to find ways in which we create ecosystems that truly encourage innovation, ideas, thoughts and insights, have access to international markets as well as local markets. So I think that, you know, it's absolutely crucial that at this stage we find ways in which we have the ongoing efforts to appreciate and understand the importance of technology. While Kenya has pursued a devolved government, it's also technology that can actually bring us fully integrated and online and able to sense the opportunities within each devolved unit and really make the devolved government more efficient and effective as far as governance and creating an enabling environment which is fit for purpose for specific areas of cultures that are desirous of specific areas of commerce, or, you know, have resources, both natural and other form, that could be of advantage. So it is yes, I think that, you know, the challenges exist, but equally the opportunity exists, the potential to solve these problems exists, and there couldn't be a more exciting time, you know, to be interactive, to collaborate, to go create for solutions.
So the last question, does Centurion offer training on PLC and IoT? And a comment, somebody's asking, what is that machine behind you?
Excellent. So, you know, this demonstrates Industry 3, and its application is essentially an HMI, a PLC, a drive, and other forms of sensors that enable us to demonstrate how to save energy by using control systems that regulate the quality and quantity of energy to a motor. And that determines ultimately, you know, the cost of how much you're using as far as energy is concerned and the savings. And this has a huge impact on anything from a potion mill to an industrial machine or your washing machine, you know. I mean, it's so critical that we be conscious and conserve elements of life, you know, like water and electricity and so on. So using this technology, we're demonstrating here how automation assists us and cleverly uses logic in order to promote the best and the most optimized performance based on the least amount of energy and use and have effective controls. So that's what a system is, but it belongs to the era of Industry 3. On top of this would be Industry 4, which would then include artificial intelligence, data analytics, and so on, to use and understand all the different patterns of usage of that motor drive found in a Bosch mill. It's extremely exciting, you know, all these plug-and-play devices where you put things together, connect things, and make things immediately happen. You know, they're physical, and it's part of the inspiration. Yes, Centurion provides trainings on all these different modules, but it also provides trainings on the new generation of technology, IoT and data analytics and artificial intelligence. It provides trainings on the nature of systems which one has to consider, like cybersecurity. All of this is part of Industry 4 and part of the modularized, scalable, stackable skills that are required in today's generation.
Okay, so that means when somebody comes for either the PLC or IoT training, they get to actually experience it doing practical tests and now interacting with such machines so that when they get into the industry, they are able to play it out in the right manner. Just to close with, and I would request just for you to do for us a parting shot, because one of the most critical things that we have seen is there's a whole desire in the space of engineers to be innovative, and you have walked us through how you formed Centurion Systems, how you had to go and you did your studies outside, but you still had the desire to come back here in Kenya, and even walked us through the essence of robotics in place and everything. What can you say for that innovator who is, budding with ideas, or maybe has even reached prototype stage? What does CBUS come and support that person who may not have the financial capability to go to the next level?
So, Dorcas, over time we've seen a lot of enthusiasm in enterprise creation at
Yes.
Centurion, and this has become the premier sort of startup hub for industrial automation 4 and into 5 and into the future. And I think that there's normally a very strong desire in young people, and we always take it as the majority of people here are young, and they come with a lot of desire and passion for wanting to learn, wanting to have a different engagement in life, having that great appreciation of some of the challenges that they face, and therefore how solutions can actually be part of this. And it is critical to hold on to that, because these are the very traits that are the most important and the greatest resource we have as a country. Curiosity, creativity, resourcefulness. We see young people design from very limited sources of capacity into something that would normally take ages in the first world. And so that capacity that exists as far as energy eventually comes up with ideas and innovations and insights, and these then need to be formalized by way of registering them as far as IP is concerned. And then you have organizations that are part of and partnership with Centurion, which try to link you to capital abroad. And we have to appreciate that our markets may be risk averse or could be limited in terms of the application knowledge that you have. So why not approach international markets, which consist of 170 countries and a structured system in terms of innovation and application, and a financing model based on the fact that IP is greater than brick and mortar and machines. The value of IP increasingly in first world countries is what holds the greatest value of an organization. And so that registration becomes absolutely critical to ensure that you're able to scale, to get the necessary funds for you to achieve success. But we're also working on the fact that Centurion's been around for 35 years. It's been trusted by many industries in this country throughout the region, and institutions and organizations. And so the possibility that we could actually then create access to market becomes possible. Having been trusted to repair equipment, maintain equipment, train the staff of organizations, the possibility that further capacity can be established around a community of enterprise creation based on market access and finance access is a big reality for us. And we've done it informally, but we hope to do it now in scale.
So thank you very much. I believe we are on top of the hour since we started, and to everyone who has logged in, to all the questions and the comments that have been put in place, want to first say thank you. We will take this opportunity to also say thank you to Dr. Kevin Desai taking this time. We do not
take it for granted. We know there are way more things with the boards and everything you'll be doing, and therefore we do hope we'll be able to have an additional series with you in the coming month.
Sure.
Our goal and desire is to see how can we elevate these discussions to have even more engineers joining and just create a think tank on where we can share ideologies together to make our industries better. To everyone who has joined us, we want to say thank you very much. And from our end, from Centurion System Studios, we hope to see you next time. And we look forward to many interactions with you. We will be sending you a summary and more details in regards to Centurion Systems. For those who have asked about the courses, we will send you links so that you can inquire and somebody will be able to reach out to you. Our goal and desire is to ensure that you are ready to be in that industry that you're looking for, but most importantly, you're ready for the world. By equipping yourself and upskilling yourself, you are in the right place. Thank you very much and looking forward to having you on board again. Thank you.